Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 6 of What If Naruto Became a Fallen Angel. If you guys enjoy this what if, and want to see part 7 of it, comment down below, and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Naruto looked at himself in the mirror as he was getting ready for his date with Rias. He had put on a dark orange dress shirt and black pants for the date. He wanted to at least look good for it if anything else. 11:50. Naruto thought as he read his watch. Isaka and Kunu had left a bit after they woke up to return to Kyoto. While he wished they could stay for a bit more, he knew they had their duties. Walking through his house, Naruto noticed that no one was home as he was leaving. It reminded him a bit of his life back in Konoha. As annoying as she was at times, Kuroka was good company, but she was currently on some assignment. It didn't take Naruto more than a minute to fly to Ria's house. "Well, here goes nothing," Naruto said, knocking on the door. 1 minute, the blonde heard Ria's yell from inside. Hearing footsteps, Naruto readied himself for his date to begin. "Hey," Ria said, opening the door. Naruto's jaw almost dropped when he saw what Ria's was wearing. She wore a tight black V-neck shirt that showed off much of her cleavage, as well as outlined her upper body perfectly, along with a short miniskirt like the one she wore for school, only red instead of violet. "Right on time," she said, walking out with the purse in hand. "You look great, Rias," Naruto said, holding down his blush. "Thank you, Naruto. You don't look half bad yourself," she responded with a teasing wink. As the two walked into town, Naruto couldn't help but feel a bit awkward as much of the young population gave them side glances or stared at them as they walked by. "Thanks for inviting me in this, Naruto. It means a lot to me that you at least want to get to know me," she told the fallen angel. Naruto smiled charmingly. "Well, I don't just want to marry someone I don't know or love, do I? I'm sure you wouldn't want that either," Naruto responded, earning a nod from her. "I know of a small restaurant near the studio that we can go to for lunch. We have 3 hours, so that will give us plenty of time to talk and get to know each other. What do you say?" Naruto asked. "That sounds great," Rias agreed. While it did sting her ego a bit, she was happy that Naruto would look at her in the eyes when they talked instead of staring at her cleavage. She was certain that if it had been a Seiya Riser in Naruto's place, he wouldn't have hesitated to stare at her. "Hey Naruto, what is your dream?" Rias asked. "Well, when I was a kid, my dream was to become the leader of my village, the Hokage. At first it was because I wanted everyone to acknowledge me for who I am, not what I was," Naruto said, earning Ria's full attention. "You see, I was born right after there was an attack by a beast on my village that devastated the place. There wasn't one person who wasn't affected by the attack. Everyone had lost something. To my parents died during the attack. My father was the leader of the village at the time and was forced to seal the beast inside of me," Naruto started to explain to Rias. "After that, I was seen as a danger by a lot of them. Some thought that I would one day snap and release the monster I held back upon the world. Others thought that I was a puppet for the beast. But overall, I was shunned and ignored, except for a few people. I wanted everyone to notice me, to know who I was, not what I held inside of me," Naruto said, remembering that part of his life. It was a painful period for him, but he had managed to push through all that thanks to his friends. Rias, on the other hand, was completely enthralled by the blonde's tale. She couldn't help but both feel sympathetic yet relate to what the blonde had to go through in life. She couldn't help but want to hear more of the blonde's life. His dream of being acknowledged by those around him hit home with her. That was something that, well, for a different reason, she could understand and had desired the same thing. Naruto continued his tale as they walked through the streets of the large city towards the cafe. "I eventually set my dream of becoming Hokage so that everyone would have to acknowledge me, to see me more than just some brat or a curse on the village," Naruto said to the redhead. "You said that was your dream as a kid," Rias said. "So what is your dream now?" That was a fair question. Dreams change as one grows older, and she was still curious about this blonde man, before he that even her brother was hesitant to battle. "I still wanted to be Hokage even after I grew up. Hell, I still want to be the Hokage even if I know I can't. But my reasoning changed to a degree. I still wanted to be acknowledged by everyone, but more than that, I wanted to protect those that mattered to me the most. That evolved into my current goal," Naruto said, looking Rias in the eyes. "I want to bring peace to the world. I want to break the cycle of hatred that exists deep within this world," Naruto stated as they arrived at the restaurant and got a table. Rias silently thought about what the blonde had told her as they sat down at a table. She had learned a lot about Naruto in the short time that their date had started. The way he talked about his dream was really inspiring. For a second, she thought she was talking to an angel rather than a fallen angel. "That's a great dream, Naruto," Rias said, earning a wide grin from the blonde. "You said you can't be Hokage anymore. Why?" Rias asked. She was also intrigued by the monster he said was sealed in him. "Does that mean he has a sacred gear?" she wondered. Naruto looked a bit upset. Rias was worried that she may have asked about a sore topic. Well, I might as well tell you the truth, Naruto said, sighing. I'm not from this world, Naruto said seriously. I was born in an alternate dimension, where the world was constantly ravaged by war. Before I got sent here, we were in the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War, which was started by just 2 men. It was the first time all the great nations united against a single opponent. The war only lasted 2 days, but over half of the forces on either side were wiped out. In the end, me and my team met the person who had orchestrated the entire thing, Kaguya Otsutsuki, Naruto said, scowling at the name. But his eyes were as white as plates. She had expected that maybe it was because he had been turned into a fallen angel that he couldn't be Hokage. She never expected him to be a ninja from an alternate world. It was almost like he was from some kind of manga. Something happened during that battle that left you stranded on Earth. Rias concluded from what Naruto had told her so far. She knew that he had cut out a few things, but that wasn't important right now. The more she listened, the more she wanted to know about this powerful blonde man across from her. Naruto nodded. We had defeated her. Me and my friend Sasuke managed to seal her once again, only for her to push me through one of her portals at the last second. It was also how I lost my arm, Naruto said, holding up his left arm. Rias watched as a cannon came out of its arm for a second before it reset itself. I nearly died from that, but was revived by Azazel, Naruto said, finishing his tale of how he got here. It must be horrible, Rias said, feeling sad for the blonde. She had left her home, but she could never imagine being forced into an unknown world. It's not so bad. I have a lot of new friends now, and I've been able to do things I could never imagine of doing back home. Plus, I'm sure Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke team will manage to bring peace, Naruto said, being optimistic of what happened back home after he disappeared. So since I told you about my dream, what is yours? Naruto asked Aridid. Rias thought about it but laughed nervously. I don't really know. You had such great dreams and here I am. I came to Earth because I couldn't stand being treated like I was just the next Lady Gremory, Rias said to Naruto. That's why I never wanted to marry Razor. To him, I'm just a way for him to get wealth and status, Rias said, with her face contorting to one of anger. She hated that man more than anyone else. She didn't just want to be some trophy wife to some douchebag who wouldn't care for her in the slightest except when he wanted to fuck her. That's horrible, Naruto said, narrowing his eyes. He hated people who used others for their own gain, while throwing everyone else under the bus. People like Riser and Gato who only cared for what they wanted. It was why he didn't regret doing what he was, even if he had to deal with a marriage contract. So you left the underworld because everyone treated you like just the next heir? Naruto asked his date. Yeah. To much of the higher class in the underworld, I was just the next leader of the Gremory house. They saw me as either another high lady or a pawn for them to use in the future when they needed to make a political move. I hated it. How no one saw me as Rias, but rather Lady Gremory or Lucifer's baby sister, Rias told the blonde. I moved here so I could live without being tied to my name or my family's title, so that I could be my own person. Naruto sighed as he leaned on one of his hands. I'll never understand, or really like nobles. Who cares what your bloodline is? You're a person, not some doll for other people to dress up, Naruto said to her. This made Rias happy, knowing that he at least didn't just see her like most of the underworld did. Rias, if you want to cancel the wedding, just tell me. I will not force you to marry me if I win against Riser, believe it, Naruto said with a wide fox-like grin. The redhead couldn't help but laugh light at how goofy the blonde looked with his wide grin. It touched her heart that he was willing to give her the freedom she wanted if she chose to. Thanks, Naruto. That means a lot to me, she responded. It was then that the waitress came around to their table. Can we wait a bit before we order? Rias asked, not wanting to interrupt their conversation too much. The waitress nodded and left the two. I guess we both just wanted to be acknowledged, Naruto summarized with a small smile. It was nice to be around someone who, while they had different circumstances, knew what it was like to want to be seen as their own person, not just what they were born with. So you said you were a ninja? Rias questioned, to which Naruto nodded. That is so cool, Rias said. Rias was a huge fan of Japanese culture. Meeting a ninja from a different dimension to her was like something straight out of a manga or anime. The shinobi chuckled at the way she reacted. He was glad that they could turn away from their somber conversation. He was a bit surprised by how Rias reacted. Sorry, I'm a big fan of all things Japan. That's one of the reasons that I decided to move here, Rias said with a small blush at how she had acted in public. Looking around, she saw the waitress from earlier giggling at how she had acted, which drew some attention to them from some of the few people in the place. So any stories about your time as a shinobi? Rias asked, curious on the shinobi of his world. Naruto thought for a second on which story he should tell. Well, there was a time my village was attacked. It was during the time when I was training with Senjutsu to become a sage, so that I could protect both myself and my village from the group called the Akatsuki. They were the same group that started the war that sent me to this world. I don't exactly know what happened, but when I arrived, my entire village was nothing but a crater, Naruto said, scowling. What happened during the attack? Rias asked. While she knew of beings that could do a lot worse, turn a city into a crater was no small feat for the majority of beings. We were attacked by who we thought at the time to be the leader of the Akatsuki. His name was Nagato, but at the time he referred to himself as Pain. We both had the same goal and were thought by the same man. However, we both chose different paths. Naruto started as he began to tell the Red Hat about his battle with the strayed disciple of Jiraiya. Rias was impressed from what Naruto described to her. How Nagato was able to control 6 bodies at once and the other abilities of the 6 paths. I almost lost. And I would have lost if one of my friends didn't try to save me. Her name was Hinata Hyuga. Naruto said, remembering the shy girl. She told me that she loved me. And then he stabbed her. And I lost it. Naruto said, clenching his fists. Rias was a bit worried for her date, but let him continue. I lost myself to the monster inside of me and went on a rampage. For a while I wasn't in the right state of mind. I almost gave up everything to my despair. Naruto said, before smiling softly, which confused Rias. But because of that I was able to meet my father for the first time. Afterwards I regained control and defeated the last Pain and confronted Nagato. I managed to convince him to trust me would bring peace to the world, and he used the last of his power to revive everyone in the village who he had killed. Naruto said, ending the story of his battle with Nagato. I can even begin to imagine what it must have been like being in your shoes. To find out that the person you were close with died at the hands of his own student. Ryu said to Naruto before checking what time it was. They still a bit over an hour before the show started. How did the village react? She asked the former shinobi. A wide smile appeared on the blonde's face. They came to see me as a hero. They acknowledged me not as the what was sealed in me, but as an individual who had risked everything to save them. Just like so many had risked their lives to protect me from the Akatsuki. Naruto answered, wiping a tear. So many had lost their lives against Pain to protect him in their home. He was thankful that Nagato was able to revive them. I'm glad you managed to achieve that, Naruto. Rhea said, feeling a bit jealous for the blonde. Unlike him, she had yet to be acknowledged by the majority of the underworld nobility, as most still saw her as a tool for the devil race, as proven by her current marriage. She wasn't happy when she heard that her brother's solution was to marry her to someone else, but despite not knowing him for long, Naruto was infinitely better than Riser. I'm sure that you will achieve all your goals, Rias, and I'll help any way I can, believe it. Naruto said, giving her a nice guy pose followed by a teeth twinkle. Rias held back a giggle, but was thankful nonetheless. Well, I guess we should order something. Naruto said, calling over the waitress. I'll just have a bowl of ramen. Naruto said, happy that the place offered his favorite fur. I'll take some tuna sushi. Rias said to the waitress. The woman wrote down the 2's orders before going to the back to tell the cooks about the next orders. Let's head over after we finish our food, the Redeed said. Later in the studio. You two made it. Serafel yelled as she rushed towards them, getting both of them into a spine-crushing hug. Rias wondered how Sona could have lived through this all her life before moving to Kuo. I have great NEWS. The director has agreed to push through the special episode 1, wrote myself. I'm sure that it will be a huge hit with the audience, as it will introduce a brand new character. Serafel explained to them. Oh wait, I survived living with Surziches, she thought. That's great. Naruto responded, knowing where things were going. Serafel had mentioned that she may have them appear on the show, but he thought they would get at least a tour before being thrown in. Maybe some rehearsal. Let me show you two to your dressing ROMS, the Satan class devil chimed, pushing them towards 2 rooms. There is a copy of the script in each room along with your outfits. I'm gonna tell the director that you two got here. See you on the set, she said, leaving them by the doors to their rooms. What did we get ourselves into? Naruto muttered to himself, but looking at Rhea, she looked moderately excited about being on the show. I guess you like this show? The blonde asked the red-headed devil. From what he had heard, this show was akin to Japanese animes, more specifically magical girl animes. Yeah. I've watched every episode, Rhea said with a slightly embarrassed laugh. When I was younger I always dreamed of being on it, the Grimoire said, before opening the door to her dressing room. I guess I'll see you in a bit, she said, disappearing into her room and closing the door behind her. 10 minutes later. Naruto sighed as he was dressed up in some kind of ninja outfit. He found it a bit insulting that this was what this world thought shinobi were. Turns out they were filming a movie for her show. It was apparent that the Satan had planned on this from before she even confronted him the first time. There's no way they wrote the script for an entire movie in less than a day, Naruto thought to himself. Looking at himself in the mirror, he could appreciate the outfit for its dark colors. It was a skin-tight sleeveless outfit with light armor around the chest and legs. He was also given black tabi boots and a black scarf. Naruto also wore shin and arm guards to go with his outfit. On his back was katana prop and 3 tied to each thigh. While different, it did remind him the uniform Kano has on, but used only with more design. His face was covered by a black cloth mask. We will start filming in 10 minutes. The blonde heard one of the aides say through the door. The former shinobi picked up the copy of the script he was given to read over. The story seemed rather basic, if anyone asked him. His main objective was to save the princess, which he assumed was Ria's. Miracle Leviathan the Fallen Ninja, and the Crimson Princess Naruto read deadpanning. The title alone proved that she had planned his and Ria's involvement. Read over the script one last time, before leaving his dressing room. Arriving on the set, his breath was taken away when he saw Ria's. She wore a red dress that pushed her already large breasts up, making them look bigger than normal. Her hair was tied into a braid over her shoulder with a tiara on her head. "You look great, Naruto," Serafal yelled, running up to him, distracting him from Ria's. Like a way, she wore her magical girl outfit, which she couldn't deny made her look cute. "Now let's get to filming," she said, dragging him off to the set with Ria's. 6 hours later, Naruto was waiting for his K. Filming went rather smoothly as both him and Ria's fell into their roles. They were about to the climax of the short movie where he jumped to help Leviathan, who was fighting against the Satan King. This was the scene where he joined the battle at the last second to save Ria's, who played the Satan King's daughter who ran away from home to escape a marriage. Seeing that the king had knocked Serafal out, Naruto leaped to the tower and landed between the two. "Enough. Forgive me, my king, but I cannot let you marry Hime-sama off to some noble," Naruto said, drawing his sword prop and pointing it dramatically at the movie's villain. "Do you think you can betray me and walk away with my property?" the king yelled as he picked up a giant axe from a weapons rack. Naruto couldn't tell who was playing the role, since he wore a mask and cloak, and their voice was muffled by either the mask or magic. The two charged at each other and clashed with their weapons. "You're weak," he yelled, pushing Naruto back. "I would die for her," Naruto cried, kicking the king back. Because the actor was a devil, Naruto was allowed to really hit him, as long as he held back enough not to hurt him. The king threw his axe at Naruto, who dodged to the right. "I will not lose to you," Naruto shouted, pushing his enemy back against the castle. "Enough," he yelled as black and red energy forced Naruto to let go of him. Naruto's eyes widened at the implication of who was the actor. There was only one clan who had that ability in the devil world. "This is for the good of the kingdom," the king yelled, firing a beam of energy at Naruto. The blonde dodged the attack, which destroyed one of the prop trees. "That wasn't in the script," the director yelled in anger from his seat when he saw the king using the attack. He was about to stop the scene, but Serafal motioned from her location off the screen to keep going. She was really getting excited from the scene before her. "You want to play like that, eh?" Naruto muttered as he formed a spear of light. A wide smirk appeared on his face as he threw the spear at the king. The movie's bad guy sidestepped the attack and charged at Naruto. Naruto drew his sword and slashed at the king, who ducked under the attack and nailed Naruto in the stomach. The blonde roundhouse kicked him into a wall. "Not bad, traitor, but I will not let you win," the king shouted at Naruto before being knocked back by a sparkly blast. "Damn you, Leviathan," he yelled as he stood back up. Next to her fallen angel, the Satan in costume landed next to him. "I will not let you win, Crimson King," Serafal said in character. The Satan posed, holding her wand, and winked. "Shinobi-kun, let's beat this guy together," she said to the costumed fallen angel. Naruto nodded and charged at their enemy. The king swung his hand, sending a small wave of energy at them. The two evaded the attack and landed a kick on his torso together. "Damn you two," the man yelled dramatically. "You two don't know anything. My daughter will marry who I tell her to, and she has no say in it whatsoever," he yelled, punching Serafal in the stomach. "Take this," the king, who obviously wasn't Surzicha, shouted as he the woman off screen. "Just you and me, Shinobi. I will not give in. I will save the princess," Naruto claimed. The two let out a war cry, clashing with one another in hand-to-hand combat. Ria's, who were watching from her cage, gagged deadpanned at how overly animated the two were acting. "Rasengan," Naruto yelled, creating a low-powered ball of rotating chakra in his right hand. The king cried out in false pain. He was blown back. The villain's outfit was torn by the attack, revealing the pale yet muscular body underneath. "You ruined my outfit," he yelled before looking at the captured Ria's. "Foolish daughter, you've caused me more than you're worth. If you love this buffoon so much, then I'll just let you join him in the afterlife," he yelled, creating an orb of his red and black energy. The princess managed to remove the gag that the Devil King had placed on her. "Help me, Shinobi-kun," Ria's cried out in roll. Naruto dashed forwards, and drawing kunai cut his way through the cage and saved her from the attack. "I will not fail you, Hime," Naruto said, placing her down gently. "Leviathan," Naruto called for the magical girl, who jumped to his side. She looked a bit worse for wear, but was ready for battle. "Can you help me finish him off?" he asked for her assistance. "Of course, Shinobi-chan," she responded. Naruto held out his hand and created another low-power Rasengan. Serafal pointed her wand, adding a bit of her magic into Naruto's Rasengan, changing its color to bright cyan with pink sparkles swirling around it. Naruto looked a bit disappointed but played along. "Let's go," he yelled. "Yeah." The two dashed at the king, who channeled a bit of his power into right fist, covering it in a thin veil of dark energy. Following his opponent's example, the devil charged at the two. "Die," he cried out. "Miracle Rasengan." The two heroes yelled as their attacks collided with one another. Their attacks easily overpowered the punch, and pushed its way into his chest. The man let out a cry of pain, while Naruto and Levi-Tan's Rasengan shredded his clothing, and threw him into his palace, making it collapse on him. Ryuz ran over to Naruto and hugged him as if he would disappear any second. "Thank you so much, Shinobi-kun," she said, going back to the script. As the two looked into each other's eyes, Ryuz reached up and took off Naruto's masks. "What is your name, Shinobi-kun?" "I want to know who saved my life," she asked the shinobi. "Menmizuki," Naruto responded. Their faces neared each other slowly. The director stood up from his chair and held his hand up. His face filled with anticipation. Just as their lips were about to touch, they were told to stop. "Bravo," the director cried out as the rest of the movie crew clapped. "Well, I was confused when you went off script. This was great. I hope you were able to watch it when it premieres on TV next week," the older devil said, grinning widely. Serapho looked a bit disappointed by how the kiss had been stopped, however. Naruto and Ryuz separated, each blushing a bit, but overall feeling proud of their performance. After that, they took off their costumes in their dressing rooms and met Serapho in the main lobby. "Thanks so much, Naru-chan, Ryuz-chan," she said to the two of them, who smiled back. "No, thank you, Serapho-sama, for this opportunity. It was a dream come true for me to be on your show," Ryuz said, bowing deeply to show her appreciation to the only female Satan, who smiled and waved it off. "And Surzich's," Ryuz said, looking over at the man who was trying to sneak past them in heavy clothing. "Good job, Ryuz-tan. I'm so sorry for acting that way," he yelled as he tried to hug her, only to be replaced with Naruto, who looked far less than amused by the stunt Ryuz pulled. "Wow, Ryuz, you got buff," he started before looking down and realizing he hugged the wrong teen. Ryuz laughed at the two, which brought a smile to both their faces. "All according to plan," Serapho thought to herself, before leaving the three to their own devices. Later that day, "I order you to stay away from that girl," Ryuz said to Issei, who looked shell-shocked by what his king had just told him. Naruto sat on the windowsill behind her with a small frown on his face, but he wasn't going to tell Ryuz how to run her own peerage. He didn't approve of her preventing her pawn from making a bond with the nun, but he could see why she wouldn't want that to happen. But why? Issei questioned back furiously. It didn't make sense to him why Ryuz wouldn't want him to be around Ashiya. It sure as hell wasn't that she was jealous, since she already had Naruto. Ryuz crossed her fingers in front of her and leaned forward. "Issei, she is a member of the church, and falls under the jurisdiction of heaven and the angels. Interacting with her could potentially cause a rift between the two factions. We already have an unstable peace at the moment. We cannot risk starting a war," Ryuz explained to Issei, who still didn't want to hear any of it. The rest of Ryuz's peerage watched on as their newest member argued with their president. Issei grit his teeth before running out of the club room. Naruto sighed and walked over to Ryuz's side. "You know he's not going to listen to you, right?" Naruto asked the Redeed, who sighed and nodded her head. Even she knew that it was pointless to try and sway her pawn. Even if she really wanted to, she couldn't bring herself to punish him too severely. "I'll watch over him. This has Rainer's name all over it," Naruto said, walking after the new devil. As he walked across the room, he noticed the Udo was slightly glaring at him. Most likely because of his holy sword and the fact that he kicked his ass during their training before. "I'll have talk to him before he does something stupid," Naruto thought to himself as he left the building. "Ashiya-chan." Naruto heard Issei scream as he arrived at the park. Naruto dashed over to where he heard Issei, to see Issei by himself fighting against Donosik. From the looks of it, he was losing badly against the fallen angel. "Damn you. Where are you taking Ashiya-chan, you black-winged jackass?" the brown-haired devil yelled at the smirking fallen angel. "You know I take offense to that," Naruto said, arriving on the scene. The second Donosik saw that Naruto had arrived, he broke out in a cold sweat. "So Donosik, care to explain why you and your ragtag group of traitors won with the girl? Before I take matters into my own hands," Naruto asked, creating an orange spear of light. Damn it. He wasn't supposed to be here yet. Rainer needs more time to extract the sacred gear. I can't tell him that. He'll kill us all if he found out what we were up to. Donosik thought to himself as he tried to find a way out of the situation he found himself in. Either way, he knew that he wasn't going to come out without some kind of damage. "That is none of your business, Warden," Donosik responded, trying to buy time. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he moved faster than either Donosik or Issei could see. The weaker fallen angel took a step back as Naruto appeared less than a foot away from him. Despite Naruto being a bit shorter than him, the aura he was giving off was frightening. "I don't like doing this, Donosik, but I will not allow you guys to harm an innocent girl like Ashiya," Naruto said, trying to avoid conflict. He wanted as few casualties as possible after all, but he knew that if it came down to it, he would need to. Donosik felt scared of the man in front of him, but a part of him lusted to battle him. To test his mettle against the blonde cadre. Despite knowing he knew for a fact that he would lose, Donosik created a spear of light and flew into the air. "I will not let myself be pushed around by you, Warden," the man yelled as he threw the blue spear at Naruto. Naruto frowned, creating a spear of orange light in his right, which he used to shatter the opposing attack. Looking back at Issei, go back to Ria's, tell her to meet me at the abandoned church. Naruto ordered the pawn who nodded and ran away from the battle to his master. You're going to regret betraying us, Donosik, Naruto said, turning back to the fallen angel. The trenchcoat wearing fallen angel scowled and charged at Naruto. The blonde didn't waste any time as he dodged the initial attack and speared Donosik through the chest with his spear of light. Naruto stepped away, letting him fall to the ground with the speak still in him. Damn you to hell. He struggled to set coughing blood onto the floor. His vision hazed as he watched Naruto walk past him towards where his group was preparing the ritual. I gave you the chance to end this peacefully, Naruto said, allowing the spear to fade away. Donosik fell forward dead as the blonde left him behind. Naruto unfurled his wings and flew at the church. Naruto arrived at the church to find it being guarded by dozens stray exorcists which he knew worked for the Grigori. What are all of you doing? Naruto yelled as he landed in front of the group. Azazel never approved you all to gather here. Naruto told the stray exorcists only for them to attack him with their light guns. The blonde used his wings to block the attack by covering himself with his wings. The blonde saw one of the fallen angels he was after run into the church. So they were expecting me to think they just threw away their teammate. Naruto muttered as he charged at the group. He counted nearly 70 of them. Spells flew past him as he maneuvered towards them at an extreme speed. Drawing the Joyus, Naruto sliced through them with ease. He felt bad for what he was doing, but he could feel the hatred coming off of them. The desire they had to kill and destroy. If left them, they would cause more problems for their faction. Naruto. The blonde turned to see Rias, and her peerage appearing in a teleportation seal. Naruto gulped as the Redeed had a more than annoyed look on her face. I thought you said you would let me handle this, she said to the fallen angel. Sorry Rias-chan, but I didn't have time to wait, Naruto said before looking at Issei. Go save the Ashia, I'll handle things out here. The blonde said to the newly reborn devil, who offered a thankful smile before, and the rest of the group ran into the church. A horde of stray exorcists tried to stop them only for Naruto to appear in front of them and slash downward, destroying everyone in front of him in a crescent of light. Rias pouted at how Naruto had taken control of the situation. Rias-chan is going to give me an earful when this is done. Naruto sighed after she was out of hearing range, before dodging another bullet. I guess this will be a good time to test out what this sword can really do, Naruto said to himself, but everyone heard him and tensed. The Kaguya slashed at one of his enemies, creating 2 cuts at once despite only swinging the sword once. The second cut was slightly above the first one, spinning on his heels Naruto and cut through another one, but this time it only produced a single wound. So it only has a chance of inflicting 2 hits. Naruto thought to himself as he cut down another 2. Out of the 2 he put down, only 1 received double wounds. So it's a 50-50 chance of it happening, Naruto concluded. 2 charged at him. Naruto leaped over the one coming at him from the right and grabbed him by the arm. Naruto used the captured exorcist as a bat against the second one. We can't do this. One of the strays panicked and attempted to run away from Naruto, who was cutting down his allies. If it wasn't for their numbers and the fact that Naruto didn't want to cause too much damage to the area to avoid harming the group of devils in the church. Some other ones attempted to run, while Naruto was distracted with the others. The blonde took notice of this and flew up into the air and ended this. Joyous ring, Naruto yelled, swinging his sword down at the ground. Hundreds of needles made of light shot out of the sword. The stray exorcists cried out in pain as they were bombarded by the hail of needles. The small army had been reduced to nothing but a pile of bodies bleeding on the ground. Looking down at his work, Naruto saw that his attack had defeated every stray exorcist. The blonde fallen angel flew down to the church's door and walked in. The interior of the church was destroyed by what had to be a battle. He found Middle dead against the wall with a gash on her chest. Looks like Hiba was able to take her out, Naruto muttered. He didn't want to have to kill them, but it seemed that it had come to that. Naruto could hear battling going on further into the church. Naruto ran deeper in to find Rainer defeated by the peerage. Near them was Ashia, who from the looks of it, had died from having her sacred gear removed. He silently cursed Azazel for making the ritual so easy to perform. Looks like everything is wrapping up, Naruto said, alerting the group that he had arrived. Looking down at the panicking Rainer. Lord Naruto, I'm sorry. Forgive me please. I'll do anything for you, if you let me live. Rainer groveled for him to save her. Naruto thought about it for a second, but he could feel her dark emotions. Despite the fact that she had been crushed by his probably fiancé's peerage, her mindset had not changed. She would just try again with other fallen angels in another location. Naruto stood between Rias and Issei. Rias-chan, I said you could decide what to do with this situation, Naruto said, much to Rainer's despair. He wanted to spare her and didn't think she deserved to die, but in the end, it would be an insult to Rias. Rias smiled at that and turned to Issei. You were the one she wronged, Issei-san. What do you want us to do with her? Her fate in your hands, the red-haired princess said to the pervert who looked at the beaten Rainer, and then to the dead Ashia. All the time we spent, was it all fake? Issei asked the fallen angel. Naruto felt a bit bad for the guy. No, Issei-kun. I really enjoyed all the time we spent together. Please don't let them kill me, Issei. She begged using the same voice she used when she was disguised as his girlfriend. Naruto scowled at the desperate act by the fallen angel traitor. Please, Issei. She cried out. Tears streaked down her face as she begged for her life. Naruto-san, President, can you handle this? Issei asked the fallen angel. It still hurt him, how she had toyed with his emotions. How she had led on Ashia, and then killed her to obtain her sacred gear. Reiner's eyes widened when Issei handed her fate over to the blonde Andredeed. Naruto nodded and stepped forward. I have to do something or I'm dead. Reiner thought to herself. Her mind raced to try and find some kind of solution to her dilemma. Looking at the pair, she knew that her options were slim. She was sure that the devil would kill her because of her actions in her territory. Her only hope was that Naruto intervened and took her to Azazel. I surrender, Reiner yelled. Surrendering already, Reiner, a new female voice spoke. Rias and her group turned around and saw another woman walking towards them. Naruto smiled at the newcomer. I will never understand why Donasek and Middle decided to defy Azazel and follow you, she said, shaking her head with a sigh. Calwarner, where the hell have you been? The defeated fallen angel yelled at the blue-haired woman who walked towards Naruto. Rias and her carriage was a bit tense around the woman, but Naruto looked happy to see her. I was talking to Azazel and reporting everything we have been up to as requested by Naruto. The tallest in the room told her former ally as she hugged Naruto's arm between her boobs, earning her an annoyed look from Rias. Naruto looked a bit embarrassed by her actions, but didn't really resist. Naruto looked over at Rias and got a glare in return. He knew he would have to speak to her about this in the near future. Rias-chan, could you please handle Reiner? I believe she has caused you enough problems, Naruto said to the Redeed, who nodded and turned to Reiner. Red and black magic formed in Ria's hands as she pointed them at Reiner. Naruto looked away as the fallen angel gave out one last cry before she was wiped from the world. Well, now that her little group was taken down, I guess we can all go home, Calwarner said with a smirk, only to be stopped by the Occult Research Club president. Oh no, you don't, she said, glaring at the two fallen angels. Naruto already knew where this was going, and he was a bit happy about it. I want to know what kind of relationship the two of you have, she demanded. She didn't like the way that Calwarner was holding on to the blonde that may one day become her husband. Relationship? Well, for now there is nothing between the two of us, Calwarner said, releasing Naruto. Unfortunately, she added in her head. But if he ever wants to mess around a bit, I'd be more than happy to comply. She continued with a seductive smile on her face. Naruto sighed and shook his head at how his subordinate was acting. President, we need to save Ashia-chan, Issei yelled, interrupting the conversation as he held the young blonde woman in his arms. Naruto frowned but knew that there was only one way to save her at this point. Looking over at Rias, he nodded and walked over to the remains of the fallen angel. The cadre picked up the Twilight Healing and handed it to the didn't like the peerage system, but he could knew Rias had a good heart, a bit selfish but kind nonetheless. On top of that, Ashia was important to Issei, so having her with him on the same peerage would be good for him. Thanks, Naruto, Rias said to the blonde, who smiled at her. She knew full well from her brother that Azazel would want the gear for his research, and that Naruto didn't like the devil's system, but Naruto had chosen her pawn's happiness over his own faction instead. It was a bit endearing for her. Rias walked over to the dead nun and pulled out her last bishop piece. The blonde watched as a red circle appeared under her, and Ashia and Rias began her chant. Within seconds, Ashia was revived, and her sacred gear was returned to her. Issei was at her side within seconds as she opened her eyes again for the first time as a devil. Issei, she managed to say weakly as the devil hugged her. Naruto smiled, knowing that Issei truly cared about her, not just because she was female. Come on, we've had enough action for tonight, Naruto said to Rias. Yes. And don't think our conversation is over, the Redeed said, the former shinobi, who agreed with Naruto. The blonde grunted as he woke up in a familiar area. He had just gotten home from his talk with Rias, and full was this part of his mind where the Bijuu had stayed during the war against Moderate and later Kaguya. It was the first time since he had arrived in this world that he had been able to enter. Guys, Naruto called out, seeing if he could get a response from any of them. Kurama, the shinobi yelled. Boy, quite kid. I just woke up, and I have a headache. Behind him, Shikaku came out of the shadows. Naruto was surprised to see the giant Tanuki who had been sealed in his friend guard before his capture. Ugh, what happened to you? Your chakra feel different now, brat. The one-tailed Bijuu asked his new host as it rubbed its head. Shikaku, where are the others? Naruto questioned. Out of the 9, the only one who had appeared at this point was Shikaku. Shikaku grunted at the question. One moment we were trying to save your miserable ass after you went through Kaguya's time-space ninjutsu. Luckily we were able to do that. But then the next second we were engulfed in some stupid light that knocked me out. I had to completely reform myself from a massive chakra. Shikaku said, sounding annoyed by the fact that it had been too weak to avoid that happening to him. But I feel better now. Hell, I feel like I'm back at full power, haha. The Tanuki yelled in glee. After his consciousness had been released from the Jubi, he had only retained enough power to grant Naruto his abilities. But now he felt like he did when sealed inside of Gar. I see, so you guys must have been affected by that thing Azazel used to revive me. Naruto concluded. He couldn't be completely sure, but that was his hunch for now. How is Azazel, brat? Shukaku asked, not recognizing the name. It sounded strange to him, and he had been alive since the beginning of ninjutsu. Naruto's eyes widened as he realized that the Bidjuu had no idea what he had been doing since they arrived. And from what Shukaku said, the Bidjuu were in the middle of reforming themselves. Since he had the least amount of chakra, it made sense that he would be the first one finished. Deciding that it would be for the best for Shukaku and later the Bidjuu to know, Naruto explained to Shukaku everything that he had done since he arrived in this world. Shukaku's eyes widened when he heard Naruto's story. How he had become more that human and his current situation with Ryuz and the others. Naruto even fist bumped the sand user to show him more. I got to say, brat, you work fast. You boned a MILF and may get to marry a smoking redeed. Shukaku said, laughing. Yeah. It's alright. Naruto said dryly. But it's good to know that you guys are coming back even if it may take a while. The blonde said, smiling at the massive beast who nodded and smirked. Yeah, now go away. I have a headache from just waking up. Shukaku said, laying down and wrapping its tail around itself. But it's good to know that you're doing fine. Shukaku said before falling asleep. Naruto smiled as returned to his own sleep, this time with a second light snoring within his head. Shukaku was happy to finally be whole again, while Naruto was glad that the Bidjuu were returning. Next morning, Naruto woke up to the sight of pale flesh. He could feel someone holding him tightly, burying his face into their boobs. Nia, Naruto-kun, go back to sleep. The blonde heard from the person holding him. Naruto sighed as he substituted himself with a pillow, allowing him to escape from her grasp. Oh, you're no fun, Naruto-kun, Kuroka moaned, sitting up, giving the blonde a full view of her upper body. Maybe if you didn't sneak into my bed naked. Naruto said, shocking Kuroka. The Catwoman moved the blanket out of the way and stood up in front of the blonde. Naruto blushed slightly, being able to see Kuroka's whole body. Her flawless pale skin and her bountiful breasts and full hips. The black cat tail swinging behind her and 2 ears propped on her head. He couldn't deny that she was beautiful. I know you had sex with Yusakabaka. I could smell it on you in the bed. How about we mark this bed with our scent as well? She said, leaning towards him and licking his cheek over his whiskers. Before she knew it, her body was wrapped in sand. Naruto was just as surprised by the sand as she was. I'm trying to sleep here. Shukaku yelled inside of Naruto's head, clearly annoyed from being woken up by the two. The sand released Kuroka and retreated back into Naruto. That was new, Nia. Kuroka said, rubbing her ass. Standing up, she wiped out some of the sand left on her skin, before picking up her bra that she had left on the floor when she struck the night and putting it on. Mind helping me out? She asked Naruto seductively. I know for a fact that you don't need my help. Naruto deadpanned her. Kuroka pouted but insisted on him helping her out with the task. The Uzumaki sighed, but smiled as he walked over to her and clamped her bra on. You're impossible, you know that. Naruto said, rubbing the top of her head, earning him a purr from the Nekomata. I'm gonna go make us some breakfast. Naruto told her. Kuroka leaned forward, pressing her butt against Naruto's pelvis as she put on her panties. You know that in a month I'm going to go into heat. She said, pulling her underwear up. I really hope that we'll be able to capitalize on that time and have some fun, Nia. She said, turning around and come face to face with him. You will be mine, Naruto Uzumaki. She claimed firmly. Naruto chuckled. We'll see. The blonde said. The two left the bedroom and walked downstairs. You know I may be marrying Ryuz, right? He asked her. You act like I care, Naruto-kun. I'm fine with whatever, whether you want me as a wife or as a mistress. And if Ryuz-chan or Yusakabaka disapprove, I'll kidnap you and take you far away where we can make love and have dozens of kittens, Nia. She responded with a cheer. Naruto shook his head and started to cook for the two of them. You're impossible, you know. Naruto said to the cat girl, who giggled and sat on one of the kitchen chairs. My fight with Ryuzer is coming up in a few weeks. No doubt that after that I'll be tossed into the center stage of the devil world. Naruto told her, sighing. He originally wanted to stay low-key, but it was rapidly becoming obvious that staying hidden was impossible for him. Both opposing factions now knew about him already, as well as Office. Office, what does she want with me? Even when I can't see her, I feel her watching me. Naruto thought to himself. So Naruto-kun, how about we spend the day together? Kuroka asked the blonde. Nothing etchy, but just you, me, a warm blanket and a movie marathon or a spar. Kuroka asked, wanting to get some alone time with him. Despite living with him, she hadn't made much progress recently. Office had called her out on a few occasions, which limited her time with him. Sure. Naruto responded as he stepped away from the oven to get 2 plates for them. Set the food on their plates, Naruto brought them over to the table. Kuroka cheered, happy that he had agreed to stay with her for the day. She saw this as a chance for them to become closer with one another. This is going to be a long day, isn't it, Shukaku? Naruto asked the chibi, who grunted. 2 hours later. Whoa. Kuroko yelled as she dodged a wave of sand from Naruto. So you're telling me you now have a giant tanuki inside of you that lets you control sand? She asked him. Naruto smirked as he waved his hand. Sand from the ground rose, and formed a dozen sand shurikens. Using the cat-like grace, Kuroka avoided every single attack. Hey brat, let's show the kitty who's the strongest. Shukaku yelled at his host. The two-tailed cat girl reminded him of one of his siblings, Matatabi. As the lowest-tailed beast, he was always looking to surpass his siblings however he could. It wasn't the same but close enough for him. If you say so. Naruto muttered as he dashed toward Kuroka. The two pulled in the energy of nature into themselves as they neared each other. Kuroka dodged Naruto's punch, but still felt as if she was punched, sending her back. You're gonna need to do better, Kuroka-chan, Naruto taunted her. Kuroka stood back up a bit dazed by the hit. Kuroka smirked and created copies of herself. The five of them attacked Naruto along with the real Kuroka. Let's see you handle this, Nia. She stated as the clone encircled Naruto. Naruto smirked as he drew out Shukaku's chakra. Kuroka knew she had to keep an eye out for the sand which Naruto had used before. Two of the clones tried to flank Naruto from each side, while the last one jumped into the air at Naruto. Sand roared out from under Naruto, and wrapped around the four, coming at him on the ground and crushed them. The last one's attack was intercepted by Naruto's own clone, causing both to dispel. Kuroka used the opportunity to sneak behind Naruto, and used her chakra to create a blast of energy. The sand wrapped around Naruto as the attack hit the newly formed sphere. That's some strong sand, Nia. Kuroka sighed as she saw that her attack had cracked the defense, but had been unable to break through it. I didn't expect this to be so effective, Naruto said as the sand receded back to the ground. Shukaku growled as it took it as an insult, but didn't state anything. Okay, enough, Kuroka. Thanks for helping me test out my new sand attacks. No problem, Nia. She's watching us, isn't she? Naruto asked, looking at the sky. Kuroka nodded, knowing who he talking about. Office hadn't left the area since she had made contact with Naruto. For some reason, she was really keen on recruiting into her efforts to defeat Great Red despite Naruto already refusing. You know, Office, it would be a lot easier if you would just show yourself. I can sense you anyways, Naruto said out loud. Kuroka held her breath as Office floated down from the sky and landed in front of them. Her face was as emotionless as ever, but Naruto felt a slight irritation coming from her. I was caught, she said, stare at the two. Kuroka, you haven't convinced him to join the Chaos Brigade yet, she said. It wasn't a question, but rather a statement. After all, she had been watching them the entire time. Office, please stop trying to pressure Kuroka. I'm not going to join your group, and if you try to force her, then I'll retaliate, Naruto said with a slight threat. He didn't know how well he would be able to do against the god, but he would try if it meant helping his friend. Sure, she may be a bit flirty, but he could tell that at her core she was a good person. Office and Naruto stared into each other's eyes as they had a quick battle of wills. Naruto's were filled with determination, while Office had a cold aloofness. I see. I will not force her to try and recruit you if it makes her uncomfortable. It has also proven effective. I will over you personally recruit you, she said, leaving no room for argument. What does that mean? Naruto asked the dragon god. I will stay here until you decide to join me, she stated. Naruto's jaw dropped when he heard this. It wasn't like she asked him if she could stay. She had literally told him that she would. You are too powerful to pass on, and you interest me. I have great need of your power to defeat Great Red, she said definitely. Naruto pinched the bridge in irritation. This girl just didn't get it, did she? He wasn't going to drop everything to help her with a cause that really didn't make sense to him. She wanted to get rid of a dragon, yet as far as he knew, the dimensional gap could easily fit both of them. Do as you wish, Naruto said, giving up. Office nodded and vanished. Why can't she just give up? Naruto asked Kuroka. Well, now that we're all alone, Nia, she yelled, jumping at him. Naruto sidestepped her, letting her crash against the ground. I can see why Shikamaru said women are troublesome, Naruto said as he was glumped by the busty cat girl. I take offense to that, Naruto-san, the cold voice said. Naruto moved Kuroka out of his field of vision to see Grafia waiting for the two of them. The blonde found it a bit amusing how she had echoed his own words from before. I must admit I was rather surprised to see Office here. I have had my doubts about your strength, but her interest in you proves otherwise, Grafia said, walking over to the two of them. Naruto and Kuroka had already gotten up by the time that Grafia got to them. What do you need, Grafia? Naruto asked, yawning, much to the maid's irritation at how casual he was being. Noticing the devil's glare, the blonde avoided his eyes. If he could place his relationship with the maid, it would be strained at best. He knew that she didn't trust him because of his affiliation. Well, you have been mingling with criminals. She started by looking over at Kuroka, who glared at her. Lord Sursacius wishes to invite you to dinner with him and his wife, Grafia told them. Naruto narrowed his eyes when he felt a spike on anger when the buxom devil said wife. He always thought that she was Sursacius' wife, given that they were always with one another. Given her tone and what he was feeling, Grafia didn't particularly like the woman. Who are you calling a criminal, Nia? Kuroka yelled, glaring at Imade, who shot back with an ice-cold stare. The two released a bit of killing intent. The feeling of dread started to disturb the local area's animal and people outside of the complex. Enough, Naruto said, flexing his own power. The two devils were snapped out of their small contest as Naruto's power flowed over them. Grafia, please don't call my friend a criminal, Naruto said to the devil leader's maid. Kuroka stood behind him and stuck her tongue out at her. And Kuroka, please don't start a fight, Naruto said to the Nakamata, who looked betrayed. I'll be back in an hour. Please dress in proper attire, Grafia told the blonde, who smiled. Thanks for coming here to tell me, Grafia. I know how busy you must be with your work, Naruto said to her, trying to mend whatever issues she had with him. Grafia didn't show any reaction but instead bowed to him. Thank you, but I'm just fulfilling my duty, my master, Naruto, she responded before stepping back. She had kept the cold edge in her voice, but seemed to appreciate that he had considered how much work she had. With that, a seal appeared under her and teleported her away, leaving the two alone once again. So can I go? Kuroka asked the blonde. It would be like a double date. The Lucifer and his wife and the Cadre and his wife. It would be the perfect. You do realize that you are considered a stray devil, right? Naruto reminded the Nakashu. Grafia wasn't technically wrong when she called Kuroka a criminal, since she had broken a law. She had a darn good reason in his opinion, but a lot of devils didn't see it like that. That was one thing he didn't like. I want to go as well, Office said, standing right behind him, causing him to jump into Kuroka's arms, since he hadn't sensed her. Mini, Nia, Kuroka said, puffing out her cheeks. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification, and also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.